All right, I'm gonna run it back. But what's good, guys? So this is the deck that we're gonna be doing a breakdown for Bardock. This is the SS4. It's like my favorite deck. We played it during the Kissimmee regional, and we played it during the online regional that I think it was PlayTCG did like the week before or 2 weeks ago. And we'll probably be playing it again in Pasadena. Not me ruining the YouTube video. Nah, you good, Dan? Dan dropped a sub beforehand, and YouTube likes to be like, "Oh, copyright." So I just had to cut before then. But it is all good. What's up, Dan? Um, Bardock, he's a 5k leader, but this man will never be 5k unless your opponent finds a way to destroy all your energy. So he'll gain 2k for each color in your energy area and in your battle area. So turn 1, he should at least be 9k when you charge something, because you'll have black and whatever color your other SS4 is. Ideally, on turn 1, you'll be playing this Goku, we'll talk about in a moment. So you'll be 11k turn 1, which is phenomenal, whether it be you went first or your opponent goes first. That extra power just matters. When you swing, you look at the top 5, you grab you an SS4. Great searcher. I mean, you can grab anything in the deck for the most part. Unfortunately, there is no SS4 super combo, so you can grab like your boss monster, everything. You can grab your secret rare, but you can't grab a super combo. It feels really bad, but there's literally nothing you can do about it until they add an SS4 super combo, which I feel like they just won't. But it is what it is. Your awakened conditions, you just need to have 3 different, or either 4 or more colors in your battle area or energy area, which is basically just going to be 3 different of SS4s. That would be 4 colors because each one's black plus whatever color they are. So think of it that way. Once you have 3 guys out between your battle area and your energy area, you will be able to awaken. It's a weird concept because every time you see 3 cards, you think you only have 3 colors. You'll have 4. So yeah, that's pretty much it. On this side, you have your awakened side. Awesome. Does some awesome stuff over here too. Also, I forgot to mention your permanent for your dual color SS4s or black multicolor cards. Essentially, you'll reduce your combo costs by 1, and you negate energy exhaust. So the 8-drop Gogetas that you'll play in this deck are basically free super combos. Just keep that in mind. So you can have like 8 super combos in this deck technically. This guy, when he swings, he does a bunch of different effects based on how many colors you have. Again, these colors do not include black. So if you have all 4 of your like non-other colors out, all 4 of your SS4s, you'll have all of your effects. Easiest way to think about it. The first effect you'll have for having 2 colors, so that's just like 2 different bodies on board, or 2 different energy, however you want to look at it. You'll gain your 5k power, and then you can rest one of your opponent's battle cards. If you got 3 or more colors, at the end of the turn, you can switch up one of your black multicolor energy to active mode, which should be pretty much any of your energy. I don't think you're ever going to charge anything that's not black multicolor. If you are, something went very wrong. Then lastly, if you've got 4 more colors, you draw 1, and then you can snipe a marker off a unison. The drawing one is great. The unisons, it comes up sometimes it doesn't. Against Jiren specifically, it's great. We learned that at the regional, this one and the last one as well. Also, guys, I didn't know if I said it in this cut, but I do have like a cold or something going on, so if you hear like this congestion, I'm sorry. It is what it is. But yeah, that's what your leader does. Now, let's talk about one of the most important cards in the deck that you cannot run any less than 4 of, okay? It is the new SS4 Goku Prismatic Radiance. This guy is truly phenomenal. He came out of the anniversary box. If you don't have 4 copies of him and you want to run the deck, you need to get 4 copies. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. So he's going to be one of your yellow Super Saiyans, and of course he's Goku. His effect, he's going to be reduced by 1 yellow as long as this guy's your leader, so he's always going to cost you 1 in your hand. It is important to remember that in your hand, he's going to cost you 1. So there are certain cards you will not be able to like play, do anything with him because of that, and we'll get to that later. When he's played, he'll search out the top 5 cards of your deck and give you an SS4. So literally the same as your unawakened Bardock, which is awesome. So you get to search the top 10 cards of your deck. I guess technically on turn 2 or your first attacking turn, because you'll play this guy out. You'll look at the top 5. So with the Bardock, look at the next 5. It's great. Then, if you have 2 or more non-black cards, so basically on your second energy turn, you can pick this guy up and add it to your hand, and then you may play down a 3-drop SS4 tapped. So you can play either the Prismatic Burst, Goku, or Vegeta tapped. And I think you could also play, is it original cost of 3? Yeah, no, it's it's original. Yeah, it's not original, so you couldn't do that with the Bardock, unfortunately. So yeah, it's got to be the Vegeta or the Goku, essentially. So again, really good card. You got to run for it. I know these deck profiles for the Dragon Ball stuff tends to go long, so I'm going to try and tighten it up a little bit and speed through this a little bit. So just keep that in mind. Next, you have I'm only running 2 of the SS4 Prismatic Aegis Gokus. I think these are really good, but like they're just going to be charge targets at the end of the day. Will you play this? Probably not. Is it useful? Sure, it has blocker. When you charge it, it will neg the skills off of a 4-drop or less card on your battle card on your opponent's side, which is great. And then also when you play it, you can see I actually have to read it because of how how much I don't play this card from my hand. When you do play it, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards, switch it to rest mode, and KO it if it's skillless. So that's cool. If you play this guy out, you can make their card that's 4 or less have no skills. Then you can rest it and kill it. Again, this may not happen too often, like if at all. You might do that with the Vegeta that we'll get to get to play this guy. But again, he's mostly a charge target and a fusion target for your boss monster. That's pretty much it. Then the last 3 or 2 Gokus, we're playing 2 of the Prismatic Burst Gokus. This guy basically combos with this guy. So his effect, it's pretty straightforward. When you use him in a combo, if there's 3 or more energy between you and your opponent, you can pay 1 to play this guy out. When he plays out, he'll actually make one of your opponent's units skillless, which is a really like random ability that can suddenly be really helpful. Like for example, against Jiren and Toppo, and you can just be like, cool, your skills are done. I don't want to worry about any of the shenanigans that you can do there. It's like a random thing that can come up. His best skill releases activate main. You would tap 1, send this guy to the warp. He'll come back to your hand at the start of your turn, and then you can play a 2-drop SS4 or black multicolor card. It's gonna be your SS4s. A 2-drop from your hand, and then that's that. Now, keep that in mind. It's not an original cost of 2, meaning you can't play this Goku because he's gonna be a cost of 1 while he's in your hand. So it's got to be one of your other 2-drops. Specifically, you'd use it to play the Vegeta that we'll get to, or really anyone else. But the deck has a really cool way of cycling because of that. All right. Next, we'll get to our Vegetas. We're running 4 of the new Vegeta. Again, this is something you got to run, I think, at 4. I wouldn't consider it at any less. His effect is phenomenal, and it's an easy way to get all 4 colors out by like turn 3 and to awaken very early. And also, he lets you fix your energy. So in the previous build of this deck, which is on my channel somewhere, we used to run the Master Roshis. You don't need the Roshis anymore because of this Vegeta. So what he does, simply put, is okay. If there are 2 or less non-black energies. Good God, guys. My brain is dying from this cold. So we're going to try that again. If there are 2 or less non-black colors present in your multicolor energy, this guy loses 6k power. Meaning, if you were to play this guy out on your turn 2, he's going to be 10k power. So from turn 3 onward, he'll be 16k. That's just really the easiest way to look at it. As I read back to make sure. Yeah, okay, cool. So when you play this guy out, what he's going to do for you is you're going to draw a card from the deck. Then you can play 1 black multicolor battle card with a cost of 2 from your hand. Original cost of 2 from your hand, which is really important because then you can actually play out this Goku and start a whole chain of shenanigans. So when you play this guy, he'll draw you a card. You play your 2-drop. If you have 4 or more colors in your energy, so if you have 3 different SS4s, so basically your turn 3, you can pick up one of your energies and put down another one, standing. So it does typical blue shenanigans as far as energy manipulation, but it also lets you fix your energy and then also manipulate kind of like the effects. So let's say you charge that Goku again, you can now make something skillless. Or you charge the Bardock we get to later, you can neg something. It's a really cool way to just kind of like suddenly hit your opponent with an effect that they may not have been anticipating, and you get an energy back. So this guy basically costs you 1 from turn 3 onwards. And then of course what you'll want to do is the number 1 target is to play out this Goku so that you can search the top 5 cards of your deck again. And ideally you want to have like green and red down here so that you'll have like all of your colors or something like that. But yeah, really, really phenomenal card. Must have in the deck. All right. We're going to go into the other Vegetas. This is your Prismatic Aegis Vegeta. Really cool. 16k critical body. Dealing crit is always good. When he's played out, two things are going to happen. You will choose a card in your opponent's hand at random. Of course, you will choose it at random. You'll bot deck that card. Your opponent will draw a new card. They don't get to look at the card that gets bot decked, so that's cute. And then also, when you play him out, you draw 2 and you bot deck 1. The looking through your opponent's hand or randomly choosing a card from your hand and bot decking it also happens when you charge. So if you just charge him, that will happen. If you play him out, you'll get both effects. He's really just a Vegeta charge target or a fusion target. You might play him because of that 16k crit, his drawing ability, but you probably won't focus on playing him. Then you have the Vegeta Prismatic Burst. Functions basically just like the Goku, although instead of negging the skills off of a unison, he will actually spin a battle card back to your opponent's hand. That's 3 play costs or less. His activate main is the exact same, though, as the Goku. You'll send him to the warp. He'll come back to your hand at the start of the turn, and then you can also play out your 2-drop. He's really just a target for the SS4 Goku. A lot of your combos revolve around this guy. You want to see this guy as much as possible because he's just great for searching. He's great for looping. He enables a lot of bullshit, so you want to take advantage of that. All right. Next, we're going to talk about the best negate in this deck. Some people would say the best negate in the game. This is your SS4 Prismatic Sun Gohan. I would run 4 of these guys. He's freaking phenomenal. So what he does is his counterattack. So if you have your green energy and oh god, Jesus guys, brain's dying. Okay, if you activate this guy's counter skill from your hand and there are 3 or more black multicolored cards in your battle area and or energy area, keep that in mind. It's both. You can reduce the skill cost by 1, so it'll cost you only 1 green, so long as you meet those requirements. When this guy comes into play, he'll negate the attack. You can then discard a card from your hand, and he'll floodgate your opponent based on the number of colors they have in their energy. If they only have 1 color, then they get 1 more swing with their battle card or unison for the turn. Their leader, of course, can swing if they haven't already. Generally speaking, the best thing that can happen to you is your opponent swings with their leader. They forget you have this. You play this guy out, you floodgate him, and then you give him only 1 swing. Rather than if they swing with their battle card, then they have 2 swings. If your opponent knows what your deck does, and they see that green energy up, they're probably not swinging with their leader first. But in a perfect world, you hit that leader first with this guy, and you just floodgate him. This card is so useful against things that flood the board and make you cry. So like Pan right now, you'll love this guy. Of course, the defeating the demon Gohans will kill it, but that's whatever. You don't need him to stick on the board. You just need the floodgate. This guy is great for that matchup, and pretty much anything that wants to flood the board that's 1 color. If you start playing against things that are multicolor, it's really just a 1-cost negate and a body, which is still good, but you're not really going to be floodgating your opponent when they have multiple colors. There's kind of sort of no point. I guess you still could, but there's really no need. Now, we're going to talk about the other SS4 Gohan. I don't know if you need to run 4 of this guy. I do, because it's always my luck that I won't see my green cards if I bring this guy down. So I've tried it at 2, I tried it at 3, and I just wasn't seeing it enough, so I just ramped it up to 4, so that I had 8 green targets. Which still, I kind of wish that there was another Gohan to choose from, some other variant that I could charge. To give me more green targets, but it is what it is. So this guy is a double striker, which is awesome. We love double strikers. He's 16k, so your opponent's going to have to combo out, which we like. When you charge this guy, he'll snipe a marker off of a unison that has 3 or more markers, so that's cool. Also, when this guy is played, he's going to warp one of your opponent's battle cards. That is, I think it's 3 costs or less. Let me double check. Let me make sure. When this card's played from the hand, when it's 4 or less, it will warp it. So that's awesome. He's really just a nice body just to swing at your opponent. That's double strike. How often will you do that? I don't really know, but he's a cool little threat to have if you need it. Whew, God. I love how, like, before doing this, my sinuses and stuff were fine, but now it's like, now that I need to talk, they're just attacking me. All right, we're going to get into the red stuff. We got 2 of the Prismatic Aegis Bardocks. Now, I would love to ramp this guy up, but there's just not as much space in the deck. He's really cool. He's got Barrier. He's got Unique. How often will you actually play him on the board? I don't really know, because I don't really use him in that way, but still really cool. So he's going to be a reduced cost of 2 in your hand because of his permanent and because Bardock's your leader. So you could play him out with the Vegeta if you wanted to. That makes it relevant. Again, it's not ideal. The optimal thing is pretty much always this guy. But when this guy hits the board, he's going to neg one of your opponent's battle cards, 2k for each color you have in your energy area. So as soon as you have 4 different SS4s, you'll be able to neg a body 10k, which is always great. And then, unfortunately, it doesn't ignore Barrier, but it is what it is. You activate Main, you'll be able to choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and you'll be able to neg it 5k for the turn. So you can neg up to 15k with this guy on the turn you play it. So I think that's always helpful. You can just you can hopefully get rid of a body or make something much less threatening. But really, he's just a charge target. You're probably not going to play him out, but you might. In the Gogeta matchup against the SCR, this guy matters. Outside of that, he's cool, but you probably won't use him in that way. Yeah. All right. Now, you could run this at 3. You could run this at 2. I don't think you'd run it at 1 because you want to make sure it's in the deck when you play your Vermilion Saiyans, your SCR, which we'll get to at the end for one of my favorite combos in this deck that almost always guarantees you'll win. So this guy is from the anniversary box. Of course, he's got his energy exhaust as well. He's got Barrier. Fun fact, I literally just registered that he has Barrier. I don't know if it's ever came up in any of my matches. It might have, but it is what it is. All right, so his activate main is if you have 4 or more non-black colors present among your black multicolor energy. So basically, your 4 different SS4s. You can send... This guy has to be on the board for this. Also, keep in mind. You can send one of your Vermilion Saiyans from your hand to your warp. And then you place this card in the drop. Activate your... activate main on your Vermilion Saiyans, which will allow you to flood the board with your SS4s. How often you'll do this effect, I don't really know. And then what I mean by it is, I don't really use him for that often to loop the Vermilion Saiyans. My personal feeling is, like, if I can't just kill you outright or finish the game by that turn with the Vermilion Saiyans, there's probably a bigger problem going on. But I've also seen it to where I'll play games with Symbiote or Dan where, like, that combo worked for them. I haven't really needed to use it, but it is a really cool idea to be able to loop your Vermilion Saiyans, I guess, really as many times as you have these Bardocks. But you're probably only going to loop it once. Like, after the first time, you damn well better win. The nice thing about it is, because the Vermilion Saiyans will come back to your hand, you'll be able to use it defensively if you need to. His really, like, my favorite effect with him, though, is his other activate main. You rest this guy, you can give one of your SS4s Dual Striker, so you can do that with your 10 drop, with your 8 drop. There's a lot of really fun shenanigans you can do, especially on your turn 5 turn, if the game even lasts that long, with his second activate main. Alright, next, we have the Prismatic Bardock. I love this guy's counterplay. I feel like when I used to play the deck before the anniversary box stuff came out, I really underutilized this. But as time has gone on, I feel like I now abuse the hell out of this guy. So what he does is counterplay. If your opponent plays a battle card with 20k power or less, you can tap one of your energy. It'll be one of your red energy. You play this guy out, and he'll basically just get rid of that card. He'll send it to the drop instead of being played. The fact that it's 20k or less is huge. Now, keep in mind, when you pay that 1 energy, you have to have 2 or more black multicolor energy, and then you take a life when you do it. So this is like one of those things like, okay, they played Defeating the Demon. Okay, cool, let me get rid of that. Now, or okay, they played... I'm trying to think of other examples. There are plenty of times where this is just useful to get rid of threats before they hit the board. Again, it's a 20k threshold, so that's really cool. So I would run him at 4. I wouldn't really run him at anything less. If there's like, oh, I don't really need this card for some reason in the matchup, just charge it. It's still, or use it as a combo material. Like, regardless, it's still a good card. I would definitely recommend it at 4. Whew. All right. You're fake. Now we're going to get into all the Gogeta stuff. We're playing 4 of the Indomitable Might Gogetas. This guy is amazing. He's like the mini boss monster of the deck. With the new stuff from the anniversary support, you can play this guy out for free. It's gross. When he plays, he beans your leader, giving them 5k until the end of your opponent's turn. He negs 2 bodies, 30k, and then your opponent has to warp something from their hand, and he's a double striker. Really good card. And then he's basically like a free super combo. He's a 10k combo, so I mean, I think that pretty much explains itself. Other Gogetas, you got your 10-drop Gogeta. This guy is like your ultimate finisher. When you play this guy, you should win, or you should be damn near close to winning, where you just have to finger flick your opponent and they die. He's great. He's a quad striker for each color in your energy area, and is it battle area as well? In your energy area, yeah. Different effects resolve. So they also resolve in order. You can't choose the order. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes that is relevant. Just keep that in mind. You don't choose the order of the effects. They just go down the line based on what you have in your energy. So if you have red, you deal a damage. If you have blue, you draw 3 cards. If you have green, your opponent discards 2 cards from their hand. If you have yellow, you rest 1 card on your opponent's side of the board. Ideally, you just rest their energy that they've probably left standing up to try and counter you. Black, you warp 2 of their battle cards. This guy's activate main costs 5, but you'll never really pay the 5 because of the new Z battle card that we'll get into later. You just take your Goku Xeno and your Vegeta Xeno from your from your battle area or your hand. You put them in the drop, and then you play this guy. Ideally, by the time you play him, you get your opponent to 1 life. You just drop this guy and be like, cool, you lose. In a perfect world. Now, this guy is debatable. You don't need to have him in the deck. He could be a one-of, like he is in mine, or he could just not be in it. So this is the SS4 Gogeta thwarting the Dark Empire. I like this card a lot, just because I think that he's nice, like a nice insurance card in case some weird shenanigans start happening and you need to reduce your opponent's hand size. You need to get rid of 2 bodies on the board. Also, he ignores barrier, so we love that. So he's got triple attack and he's got blocker. When this guy is rested, he can't be KO'd by your opponent's skills. At the end of your turn, this guy will restand as well, so he'll always be able to block. Then when he swings, your opponent will choose 2 cards in their hand and then 2 cards on their board, ignoring barrier, and place them in the warp. There you go. So that's really freaking good. That is once per turn, of course. Now, this activate main is not going to be affected by your Z battle card, which is why it becomes a little touch and go about whether you put it in the deck. So he will cost you 4 no matter what. But again, it could be worth it. You'll choose one of your Goku Xeno and one of your Vegeta Xenos that are in your battle area or your drop, and you'll put them in the warp. And then you play this guy from your hand. Now, the cool thing about this is, on your turn 5, I don't know why, if you need to do this, because you haven't seen your other Goku or your other Gogeta. These 2 work in tandem with each other, which is really cool. So on turn 5, let's say you play the 4, you play this guy, you put the Goku and the Vegeta in your warp. Now you have your SS3 Gogeta thwarting the Dark Empire. You can fuse with the materials in your warp by paying 1 to play this guy out. So this guy is both an Overwhelm target, and then he's also just a Union Fusion that's a double striker, which we like, and he just costs you 1. He's 25k. When this guy swings, he will allow you to warp one of your opponent's battle cards. He's just a cool, like, threat. This is really cheeky. How often you'll do it this way, I don't really know. I don't really need it too often, but it does come up. The more important thing is on turn 5 going into that 10-drop Gogeta, but sometimes you might want to switch it up, or it might be necessary to do that. So yeah. Next, we'll get into the last Overwhelm, the SS4 Vegeta Heated Fighting Spirit. I think this one is an easy pick if you can afford it or if you got your hands on it. I know this guy's like 60 to 70 bucks depending upon what version it is, whether it's gold stamped or whatever, silver foil. He's an Overwhelm 6. When this guy's played, you'll just warp one of your opponent's battle cards. However, if you have a 30k Son Goku on the board, Son Goku Xeno, you can tap 1, play this guy out, and this guy will gain critical. I don't run the Goku just because I couldn't really find room for it in a way that I liked. But you could. easily put in one of the Overwhelm Xeno Gokus. You could get rid of this guy for him if you wanted to, or you could get rid of this guy. I think either one. If I had to say though, I'd get rid of this guy to put the companion Goku in. But yeah, great Overwhelm. He's searchable. Another reason why I like him. Searchable is always good. Okay, super combos. We're running 3 of the Vegetas and 1 of the Supreme Kai Prism Bringer. Supreme Kai Prism Bringer is great because on your 4 energy turn onward, you'll have 11k buff. 11k matters, especially in a deck where you're already throwing your opponent off with weird numbers. So that's why she's in here. You don't need to run her. I just like her as an option. I wouldn't put any more than 1 in the deck personally, just because of that requirement of having the 4 different energy in order to make sure you have the 11k, because that 4 energy, it has to be in your energy area. So like that's not gonna happen until like turn 4. So it's not really worth it, because I think it excludes black. Let me make sure before I say that. This card is using combo. Reach color in your energy area. Yeah. So you're gonna need everything in order to make it 11k. So that's that. All right, options, or not. This isn't Digimon. Extra cards. You have a Kraken Space Time. 1 of gives your leader double strike and 15k. You can suddenly basically hit your opponent. You're gonna be 35k double strike. That's not even including any combos. You might just finish the game right then and there. It's phenomenal. Run a Kraken Space Time. Just 1. You don't need more. I mean, I guess you could run more than 1, but at least 1. It's great. We're running 2 SS4's calls. You could reduce the number. You could increase the number. I think it's all personal preference at that point. The deck searches enough. But this is great because it lets you look at the up to the top 3 cards of the deck. Then you grab 1 SS4, you bot deck the other 2, or you grab 2 SS4s, you bot deck that one, the remaining one, and then you bot deck a card from your hand. So bot decking is whatever, especially early game, because every time you play the Goku or you swing with this guy, you'll shuffle the deck. Next, standard black deck stuff, petrification. You need petrification, I think. I have tried it at 2. I've tried it at 3. I have a 3rd in my sideboard, depending upon what deck I'm playing against. But petrification is great. Standard black negate. Then you have your token negates. You have your 2 support of the Dark Empire. You could run 2. You could run 1. Sometimes when I sideboard, I'll take out one of these guys for like Protector of the People, depending on the matchup. But it's a token negate, so standard stuff. Then lastly, your SCR. The SS4 Vermilion Saiyans. This card is freaking phenomenal. It's insane in this deck. Well, it's really only for this deck, but it's insane. It has 2 different effects. Your counterattack is pretty cool. So your opponent swings at you for each color in the battle area and energy area. So it's not just your battle area and energy area. You will warp one of your opponent's cards, ignoring barrier. And then for each card warped, you'll gain 5k until the end of your opponent's turn, or at least for the duration of the turn. So keep in mind, if you warp away Z-Battle cards or SCRs, you will not gain the 5k because the cards don't go to the warp. The cards have to actually hit the warp for you to gain the 5k. But this is a great out for like wide boards. Or really just things that are a pain in your ass. This is great. Its activate main though is also really cool. So if you have 4, your opponent has 4 or more energy, you can play up to 4 of your black multicolored cards with different character names, and energy cost of 2 from your deck. So you can basically drop your Goku, your Vegeta, your Bardock, and your Gohan from the deck. On turn 5, this gets really nasty, and we'll get into why in just a second. Let's get into the Z extra deck, or the Z deck. I don't even remember what it's called. All right, so we have first Kamehameha Mighty Blast. I mean, this card isn't necessarily required, but having the ability to get to an extra 10k out of nowhere is always nice. I think if you want to swap it out, you could. I just love the idea or the ability to be able to just, you drop a Z energy, you gain 10k for the battle. They'll place up to 3 cards from your warp and your drop. Doesn't really matter. That's not something that really matters for your deck. It's all about really the 10k buff. The secondary activate battle is in something you'll really use that much, but I'll read it off. If your leader is black, you have 3 Z, or okay, Jesus, guys. If your leader is black, you place 3 cards from your Z energy in your drop. You remove this guy from the game. You choose one of your battle cards, get 10k power for the battle. Then you choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and energy costs are 5 or less, and you warp it. That's probably just not going to happen. What's up, Ken? It's probably just not going to happen because you're not going to have that much Z energy, generally speaking. So you're really just using that first effect. Then you're running 2 Majin Pure Destroyer. This guy is really cool because, yes, he's a 2 energy investment to absorb one of your opponent's battle cards, but it's a nice, clean, easy way to get rid of anything that might be annoying on your opponent's board. So you pay 1, play this guy out, then you drop another Z energy, you absorb one of their battle cards, then you gain 25, or you climb to 25k, and you have blocker. So that's cool. What's up, Ruler? In this last regional, we placed 19th place. We went 5-2. Because it was 7 rounds. We went 5-2. So that was cool. We'll get into the games I lost in a minute. That was a little painful. Then we're running one of the SS4 Goku. This is the new one from BT22. You could run 2 of, but I only run 1 because this guy's basically like an additional finisher after I've overwhelmed. So what he'll do is you drop 2 Z energy, you pay 1. This guy comes on the board, he's going to warp one of your opponent's battle cards. Activate main, you remove 10 cards from the game from either your drop or your warp. This guy gets 10k, climbing to 25, and has double strike. So he's another way to suddenly be like, okay, cool, I'm going to try and finish my opponent off. Then we're going to play one of the most important cards in the deck. It's the new SS4 Goku and Vegeta Radiant Fusion. They have Deflect. If there are 3 or more non-black colors, okay, basically that doesn't matter. On turn 3, the easiest way to explain this, on turn 3, you can reduce this guy by 1 green, so you just pay 2 black energy to play this guy out. And then when he plays, he's going to KO something, ignoring barrier, that's 3 costs or less, so that's pretty cool. And then his activate main, limit 1, is if your leader is your Bardock, which it is. Remove this guy from the game. Then you can reduce the cost of your 10-drop Gogeta by 3, the activate main cost. Or you can reduce the cost of your 8-drop multicolor Gogeta by 3, making it free. This basically enables so many plays throughout the deck. And on your turn 3 now, you can basically go into your opponent's turn with 2 standing energy instead of the 1, which is really great. It's 2 because your leader will restand an energy, so that's pretty cool. The major combo I was talking about on turn 5 with this guy, if I can just assemble the pieces real quick, is really you play this guy out. Let's say you have your 5 energy, so let's just grab, I don't know, we'll just grab some cards. We'll just say this is your energy, right? We'll ignore the fact that your energy wouldn't look like this, okay? So you have your 5 energy. You've played this guy out. You remove this guy from the game. You tap 1 for Vermilion Saiyans. You play out your Goku. You play out your Vegeta. You play out your Gohan. You play out your Bardock. This is why having Bardock is so important. You play out your Bardock, right? In your hand, of course, you have your 10 drop, right? So you do all that. Boom, boom, boom. This guy's here. Then you go ahead and you pay your 2. Because this guy's reduced by 3. You can either combine these guys on board, or you can combine the ones in your hand. Hopefully you have them in your hand. If you don't, that's fine. Let's just say you don't, right? You'll get rid of this guy. You'll drop this big boy, right? He'll do all his shenanigans. He'll either finish the game for you, or he'll set you up to win. Then you'll take this guy. You'll rest him. You'll give him dual attack. So now you have a 35k quad striker. So you can swing. They might negate or whatever. Cool, whatever. Restand. You swing again. And hopefully you win. But yeah, that's the deck. Phenomenal. I absolutely love this deck. I think there's still room for kind of improvement, but not necessarily in the list. But this deck, I feel like, is super toolboxy, super versatile. And it really requires the pilot to know, like, their matchups and know what other decks are capable of to continuously succeed. So the games that I lost, the first game I lost to was Fu. in round 1, and unfortunately my opponent dropped after round 3, which basically screwed my score. Said, oh, I'll get you on those jumping jacks in a minute, which screwed up my score. But I lost that game mainly because I wasn't thinking about the fact, oh, their guys have Servant, right? They're going to swing at 25k. I swung on my turn 1, or turn 2, whatever, with the Goku, and left it out there tapped, and they just ran it over because they're a 25k body. So that basically just threw me off for the rest of the game. And then the other game I lost, which was in my final round, was against Pan. Pan's got a lot of ways to neg you 20k. You can't just play out bodies that you want to keep next turn. It's probably going to die. So it's a lot of like remembering and really paying attention to what your opponent's decks can do and kind of what their plays are going to be and acting accordingly, I think is really key when you're picking up this deck. I think this deck has a pretty big skill ceiling, personally, but I also think it has a pretty high floor. Like, the deck is pretty forgiving. If there's something that you mess up on, you can oftentimes stabilize with either this guy or with this guy. It just really depends. But yeah, man, like, this... Try this deck out. If you do, let me know. For those who are going to watch this on YouTube, let me know how the deck treated you and kind of like what changes you're going to make to it and all that. And I will see the YouTube folks in the next video. For those on Twitch, if anybody wants to run any games, let me know. We can do that now.